So, folks, when they show the national news and they say we're lacking inventory, they are not talking about Florida.
They are not.
Right?
No, actually, and thankfully, they're starting to say, hey, that doesn't include Florida and Texas.
Oh, are they saying that?
Yeah, now they're
okay.
starting to say, hey, not Florida or Texas.
And remember during 2008 how Florida and Texas led the...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
So anyway, so it's definitely seeing some changes here. I think that we have an abundance of inventory. I think some people who maybe moved here during the pandemic are like, you know what, actually, Florida's not really my style.
Actually, summer's really hot.
Right. Actually, I mean, it was 96 degrees in May this year, which broke a 60-year record. Welcome to another episode of Discover St. Cloud, Florida. I'm Kristin Macari, and I'm here with your host,
Jeanine Corcoran, broker for Corcoran Connect, a real estate company.
And it is time for the April of 2025 market report for St. Cloud, Florida.
It's going fast.
It is. I can't believe it. We're like mid-May right now.
And I feel like the market, we're like on a boat, like in an ocean that's like rocking back and forth.
Right.
It's like, oh, it's been good. Oh, no, it's not so good. Oh, it's been good.
It is the craziest thing. Even in some of the numbers that we're going to talk about today.
I know.
Like, it was like, I almost was like, wait, that's a weird swing. Let me look at like previous months and do some digging. And so it's just an interesting time in the real estate market, you know.
For sure. Like, what's a prediction?
I'm giving up on predictions because first of all, never buy a house when I buy a house because it's the worst time to buy a house.
This is true. She has a track record.
I do. I'm 0 for 2. And then, you know, I had some predictions towards the end of last year that I don't think are panning out. So like, it's great. It's great. It's fine. Well, so let's kick it off to 34769. What happened there?
So 34769, we had 25 homes that sold. Of that, 19 of them were single stories at $229.30 price per square foot. And we had 6 two-stories at $165.04.
That's actually 6 two-stories. That's a lot for St. Cloud.
It is, yeah, because that's downtown St. Cloud and the State Street. So.
Yeah. Your month-over-month averages are down about 13.76%. Which is like a crazy number. And
we did double check because when we see numbers like that, we're like, wait a second, is something wrong?
Yeah,
right?
But that's a big swing for price per square foot averages there. And then your year over year is down 16.63% in 34769.
So folks, when they show the national news and they say we're lacking inventory, they are not talking about Florida.
They are not. Right. No, actually, and thankfully, they're starting to say, hey, that doesn't include Florida and Texas.
Oh, are they saying that?
Yeah, now they're starting to say, hey, not Florida or Texas.
And remember during 2008 how Florida and Texas led the...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
So anyway, so it's definitely seeing some changes here. I think that we have an abundance of inventory. I think some people who maybe moved here during the pandemic are like, you know what, actually, Florida's not really my style.
Actually, summer's really hot.
Right. Actually, I mean, it was 96 degrees in May this year, which broke a 60-year record. Did you see that? So like, anyway... I get it. So we're definitely seeing some differences. Like you said, Florida, we have a lot of areas for new construction, and new construction is definitely going to help with our inventory problem, which is something that we saw happen in like 2022, 2023, and 2024. So now we have an abundance of inventory and not necessarily the same amount of buyers that were flooding in.
And even the builders are hurting because they were beating the resales by far.
Right.
And now they're hurting, like you said, when you see the guy out on the street twirling, I don't get that, twirling the sign like, come here, like, yeah, that's going to make me go in. But I guess maybe they do studies on that. I don't know.
I don't know. Listen, I used to work for a home builder and absolutely not. I don't think it did anything. But, you know, you had to do it because everybody else was doing it. So you couldn't be the one that wasn't being seen on the corner. I don't know if you remember this. We used to live in Point Siena. And I was out there, 2008 time. And there would be like 5 or 6 of them for different builders on the corner, all twirling their signs and stuff. It was a crazy
have
time.
To do that too.
I know. Well, I mean, if you need the money.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Could use some money. So let's go to 34771. Yep. So we and that's always a busy zip code. We had 91 that sold. Of that, 50 of them were single stories at $228.78, and the two stories we had 41, and they came in at $199.19 price per square foot.
Yep. And so in 34771, your month over month averages are down about 7.65%. And then your year over year averages are down about 4.16%. A number that I didn't talk about in the 34769, but it's important to talk about here. Your median days to contract is 58. So about 2 months to get under contract and 87 days to close. So about 3 months to close in 34771. And you have about a 4-month supply of inventory. And that doesn't include every new build because, 4771 has quite a big amount of new builds. So this is just considering the resale properties.
Wow. So then we go to 34772, back by the manor, and we had 55 homes that sold in the month of April. Of that, 43 were single-story homes at 231.36 price per square foot. And then we had 12 single stories at 203.57.
And so this zip code was an anomaly. This was actually the first one that where I checked and the numbers didn't really necessarily add up. So your month over month averages, if you're comparing April of 2025 to March of 2025, it's showing that you're up 6.4%. But when I looked at the numbers, if you actually go back to February's numbers, so you compare April of 25 to February of 25, you're only up 2.36%. Like I think there was a big dip last month, and then
that made it seem higher.
Yeah, exactly. And so we had the correction. So
don't get all excited in 34772.
So you're still up about 2.3%, but your year over year, you're up about 5.25% from 2024 numbers. Days to contract, they are going a little faster back there. It's 26 days to contract and 62 days to close. Wow. So about a month to get under contract and 2 months to close, and about 4.5 months supply. But again, that doesn't include
the new build.
New construction.
So then we're out to 34773. We only had 33 homes that sold. Of that, single stories, there were 22 of them at 232.05, and two stories 11 at 180.21.
And this is such a small zip code. I always have the hardest time with these numbers because your month over months and your year over years, they're always like all over the place. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at a month over month average, it's up about 5%, but year over year, it's down about 2.6%. Okay. So it's a hard zip code. And it's saying that the median days to contract is 16 days. And then the median days to close is 56, which from our experience in 34773 is not the case.
No.
Anyway, so those numbers tend to skew. It just depends on what sells, right? With the current active homes on the market and the amount sold, you're looking at about a 3.2 month supply. But again, that does not include all new construction. There's quite a bit of new construction out here.
So since we're in 34773, let's talk about our folks in Harmony. Okay. So in Harmony, we had only 9 homes that sold in Harmony, Maine. That's the part we'll talk about first. Ashley Park, we only have 1 condo that sold in April, and that was a 2-2 condo, and it sold for $220. And then in Harmony Isle, those are the new townhouses when you come in the west entrance of Harmony. And we had 3 that sold that came in at $192.34 price per square foot. Then we go on to our resales, and the resales, we had 4 houses that sold at $185.43. We had 1 custom home that sold, and that one sold at $174.69 price per square foot. On to Harmony West. Harmony West, we had 4 townhouses that sold, came in at $219.75. And then we had a lot of homes that sold in Harmony West. We had 18 new homes that sold. Of that, 11 single stories at $221.59. And then we had 7 2 stories at $200.19. Harmony Central, not much going on over there, but I don't think the builders report everything. So we only had 3 that sold. They were all on Sage Field, not sagebrush, and they came in at $230.94 price per square foot.
Wow. That's a lot.
There you go, Harmony.
A lot
if you
want to
see if you want to see the full report, go ahead and click on our website, and you have all of St. Cloud and everything that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say, as much as like in the market uncertainty and stuff like that, we've toyed with the idea. We're like, hey, do we put our house on the market and sell and rent for a while or whatever? But to be perfectly honest, the rents aren't much better. And so we're still, I think for us personally, like where we're sitting, we still can afford to live here. It's not like we have to sell. It's just that fear of like, oh my gosh, am I going to lose the money that I put into it type thing. And I think for us, the stability of having a home that I'm not having to worry about, is the landlord going to jack up the rent? Is the landlord going to sell the house?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So there is something to say about having that stability and to be able to do things on your own time in the house. And so we've been focusing all of our improvements on things that we're going to enjoy, knowing that we're probably
just don't put in the pool. If that's on your list, don't. That's the worst investment ever.
It is on my list because, hey, if I'm going to be here for 10 years, I might as well put a pool in to enjoy it. You're not going to be here for
10 years. And by the way, folks, we do now, by the time this is recorded, hopefully it'll be under contract, but I doubt it. Anyway, we have a townhouse for sale, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, with the owner's suite downstairs. It's right on Five Oaks, across from the golf course. And the owners are motivated. We're selling it.
No, that's a good. I mean, that's actually a great, location there, and the landscaping's nice. It's funny, we just redid our landscaping, right? And so now I can't drive past anything without looking at the landscaping, and I'm like, oh, we had plants like that, and they actually look good if you would have taken care of them. Right. Like, it looks great over there. So, but yeah, that's a great area to be in. And I think, if you're in the market, definitely, if you can still buy, I still think it's a great time to buy. It's always a good time to buy. You're never going to time the market perfectly. So
let's talk about vacant land. So we had 10 parcels that sold in the month of April, and it looks like the lowest one, well, that was out in Suburban Estates for only $10,300, and it's not buildable, and you just buy it to, I guess, ride your four-wheeler.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what people do. But then let's talk about that one that sold for $5 million.
I know. $5 million. There was a property. It's 176.76 acres, so almost 177 acres.
Hold on to your seat so you know where it's at, because that's apparently going to be a big subdivision, I'm sure.
I know. So this is right at the blinking light by Holopaul. It's right behind the BP gas station. There's a bunch of vacant land back there. I think it kind of goes around, a couple
so when we're going to
192.
Melbourne and you go through the light and the gas station's there, it's actually making a right and it's behind it. Is that where?
Right. It also has 192 front.
192. Okay.
Yeah. So it goes quite a bit.
So basically the BP is just on that little
corner. So that cuts out of that.
Yeah.
And then there's like a house, I think, that didn't sell.
Okay.
So there's like a little cutout in the front.
What were they thinking? They should have.
I would.
Little house.
Oh, who knows? Maybe they didn't make them an offer. Maybe they waited until they closed the $5 million parcel, and then they'll be like, hey, by the way, why don't?
But that's a lot of acres. 176 acres.
Right.
Like, that's a lot of acres.
Right. $5 million. Wow. Maybe they'll carve out a little parcel and we could buy it for the church.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Maybe it's a park. Maybe it's like that. I guess that's not the smartest use of your money, highest and best use. Wouldn't it be nice if it was like a park, like kids? That's a lot of acreage for that, right?
There's a lot of acreage.
It's going to be a subdivision,
right?
Sure.
Probably.
And we looked up the company, and they were out of what part of Florida? It was like weird. Kokomo. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. Nokomis. Nokomis. I have no idea where that even is.
So that's where the company's from.
Nokomis.
And maybe they bought it to hold on to it to sell it to a developer. Sometimes that happens. We don't know.
Right.
We're trying to find out. We didn't go to the county meeting, so. I wish those meetings were recorded where I can go back and listen to them all. Who has time for that?
I know. But yeah, so it just posted on May 1st. So they just closed. So I'm sure we'll find out sooner than later what's going out there. But
it could be years too.
It could be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It could be like 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
Like I knew about the city of St. Cloud was buying a parcel at 34771. And I only knew that information because the person put an offer on a house that we had offered in Acrusi. And I found out that the city basically, and I won't say where it is, but where it's going to be, I found out no, they're buying it just to hold on to it.
Right.
And it's basically, they're going to make it a road.
Right.
You know what I mean?
At some point.
Yeah. So it was like they're not doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it could be something like that with that acreage. It could be 8 years from now before.
Right.
You know, and that's how I'm sure how Harmony started, years before it ever.
Right. Absolutely.
Got developed, but it's just so much. Well, folks, you never know. We might get a Publix.
Yeah. Hey, that'd be great. Anyway, so thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Discover St. Cloud, Florida. You can find us on all of your favorite podcast platforms. You can also check us out online.
You can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the above. And then you can give us a call at 1-844-St. Cloud. That's STCLOUD, or 407-953-9118.
Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in the next episode.